Hello, welcome back to another Rhize demo video. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a Rhize BPMN workflow to get data from a remote API, transform it into ISA-95 representation, and then store that data in the Rhize graph database. We're going to use a weather API to map events data to the operation event object. In production systems, your workflows are more likely to interact with APIs for services such as ERPs and QA results. But the process of transformation is the same. For our remote API, I'm going to use this public API provided by NASA. It reports on Earth events that occur all over the world. Let's grab the JSON payload and bring it into our Json Playground. This is where we'll map the remote event data into our operations event object. So here's the data, and here's the function. It iterates over all events in the input API and maps this data to ISA-95 properties. Notice how the mapping works. Some properties, such as ID, map perfectly. Other items, such as source, may require accessing a nested property, but they are still pretty close. For an example of a more complex transformation, the source events also have spatial data with geolocation and timestamps. I'm going to take the first date in the geometry array as the start date, and use the last date for the end. Finally, note that this expression creates new outputs, which will be used in our mutation. So let's grab the expression and make a workflow. Here's the workflow. It has two activity nodes. The first node sends a REST call to the API, then uses our expression to create new output. I'm going to make a special ID specifically for our YouTube audience. This output is stored in a new variable. The next node uses that variable as the input for a GraphQL mutation. It runs the add operations event object using our variable as the payload. Now let's go ahead and save and make this active. Now let me run over to our API Explorer. To show that there's no data, first I'm going to query all operations events. My database has no records. Now let's run the BPMN. I'm going to use an API call to trigger the BPMN, so I enter its ID, and I've got a result with 105 new records. And we can expect that this query will now return a bunch of Earth events, and they do, and hello YouTube. In a real system, this event data might also be connected with an equipment area, a job response, a work calendar, and any associated info in your manufacturing knowledge graph. While this particular data is not common manufacturing data, this process is quite common for Rhize customers. Send data to Rhize from many systems over many protocols, then standardize to ISA-95, store it in your graph database, then use the stored data for future analysis and operational work. A next step in the future might be to turn this into a cron job and have it run daily. Thanks for watching.